Picture this. You're standing in your own kitchen on a Thursday evening. Dinner's on the stove, nothing fancy, just the chili your kids like. Your wife walks in, drops her bag on the counter, and you slide an envelope across the table. She opens it. Inside is a spreadsheet. Mortgage, split 50-50. Utilities, 50-50. Groceries, 50-50. Internet, water, trash pickup, all of it, line by line, right down to the cent. She looks at you like you've lost your mind. What is this? Rent, you say? You're half. We're married, Malcolm. You wanted a roommate, Dolores. Roommates split rent. And the look on her face, confusion, then anger, then something she can't name. That look right there is where 23 years of marriage landed. That was my kitchen, my wife, my envelope. My name is Malcolm Riggs, and for 2 decades I was the guy everyone in Colorado Springs wanted at their barbecue. The guy who remembered your kid's name, your dog's name, the score of last night's Broncos game. I could walk into any room and someone would wave me over. Dolores used to say that was the thing she loved most about me, how I made people feel like they mattered. Funny how the last person I made feel that way was her. We met in 2001. She was working the front desk at a dental office off North Academy Boulevard. I was there for a cracked molar and walked out with her number. Married by 2003. 23 years. And for most of them, really, for most of them, it was good. We bought the house on Starlight Drive when interest rates were still human. I ran a small remodeling crew, kitchens, bathrooms, the occasional full gut. Dolores moved into office management at a medical group downtown. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. The kind of comfortable where you stop worrying about the electric bill and start arguing about which countertop looks better. Scout came late. We'd almost given up, 15 years of just us. Then suddenly, there she was. 7 years old now, obsessed with bugs. Has a magnifying glass she carries everywhere, even to church. Frankie came a year later. 6. Quieter than his sister. Draws pictures of houses, not kid houses, actual floor plans with rooms labeled. I don't know where he gets it. Maybe me. There's one night I need to tell you about first. A Wednesday in January. I was under the kitchen sink replacing a valve. Water had been dripping for a week, and I'd finally gotten the part. Dolores was standing behind me, arms crossed, watching. Not helping, not talking, just standing there with that look. I said, "Hand me the wrench." She didn't move. Then she said it, quietly, like she was talking to herself more than to me. "You know what your problem is, Malcolm? You're not a leader. You're not a real man. A real man wouldn't need to be told what needs fixing around here." I was on my back under the sink, water dripping on my forehead. I didn't sit up, didn't yell, didn't even stop turning the valve. "Okay," I said. That was all. One word. But something behind my ribs closed like a door, and it has not reopened since. She walked away. I finished the valve, wiped my hands, stood at that sink for a long time, water running, looking at nothing. The next Sunday is when everything shifted. Not a fight, not a discovery, just the echo of what she'd already said. That morning I'd gone to Murray Tuttle's garage. Cold beers, the table saw, no questions asked. That was our thing. Murray's been my buddy since we both worked framing houses in Fountain 20 years back. His garage smelled like sawdust and WD-40, and when life got heavy, that's where I went. I came home around 2, walked into the bedroom to change my shirt, and stopped. The whole room was different. Dolores had rearranged everything while I was gone. New throw pillows, different curtains, and my nightstand, the one that had been on my side of the bed for 9 years, was shoved against the far wall, pushed into the corner like something she was storing. Her reading lamp sat where mine used to be. Her books. Her phone charger. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds. Then I said, "You moved my stuff?" She didn't look up from her phone. It flows better this way. That was it. No argument. No raised voice. Just a man standing in his own bedroom realizing his side of it had been erased while he was gone. Here's the thing about being the charmer. People assume you don't feel things because you're always smiling. They think the jokes mean you're fine. They don't see that the reason you're funny is because the alternative is standing still long enough for the weight to land. The weight landed that Sunday. I didn't say anything else about the nightstand. Moved my phone charger to the living room. Started charging it on the kitchen counter like a guest in my own house. Dolores didn't notice for 11 days. The weeks after that were quiet in the worst way. Not fighting, just nothing. She'd come home, check her phone, ask if the kids had eaten. I'd say yes. She'd go upstairs, I'd clean the kitchen. We shared a bed, but slept in different time zones. The closeness had been fading for months before that. Not tonight. I'm tired became the default. Every night. Then she stopped saying it altogether, just rolled over, back to me, lights off. I stopped reaching. Not because I didn't want her. Because the rejection had become its own routine, and I couldn't take another Tuesday night staring at the ceiling wondering what I'd done wrong. Grant Boatwright lived next door. HOA president. The kind of man who measured your grass with a ruler and left notes about your trash cans being visible from the street. 62 years old, divorced twice, opinions about everything. He had this habit of standing at the property line with his arms crossed, watching our house like it was a show he was binging. I'd catch him talking to Dolores over the fence. Not in a suspicious way, just neighborhood stuff. Recycling schedules. The new speed bump proposal. But the conversations got longer. And Dolores started quoting him. Grant says most men don't realize how much emotional labor their wives carry. Grant says the key to a healthy marriage is separate interests. Grant thinks his ex-wife was the same way, always needing reassurance. I let it go. He was a neighbor. People talk. Then one evening in late February, I came home early from a job. The Pikes Peak Highway project had shut down, some permit issue, and I pulled into the driveway around 3. Through the kitchen window, I could see Dolores and Grant sitting at our table. Coffee cups. Her laptop open. She was showing him something on the screen and laughing in a way she hadn't laughed with me in months. I walked in. Grant stood up immediately, not guilty, just territorial. Like I'd interrupted something important. Malcolm, we were just going over the neighborhood budget proposal. In my kitchen, Dolores invited me in. It's cold out. I looked at her. She shrugged. He's helping me with something, Malcolm. Relax. Relax. That word did something to me. Stay with me here, because the next part is where everything tilted. I didn't confront her. Didn't raise my voice. I just started paying attention. Monday, Dolores rearranged the living room shelves. My books moved to the bottom shelf. Her crystals and candles, I level. Wednesday, she signed Scout up for a new after-school program without telling me. I found out from Scout herself. Daddy, I'm doing pottery now. Like it was Christmas morning. Dolores hadn't said a word. Thursday, I found a note on the fridge in Grant's handwriting. Just a phone number for a plumber he'd recommended. But it was on our fridge, in our kitchen, in his handwriting. And it had been there since Tuesday. Friday, I overheard her on the phone in the laundry room. The door was cracked. She was talking to her sister, Donnie Upchurch. Grant says the best thing I can do is treat him like a roommate. Stop investing emotionally. Just coexist. He says most women waste years trying to fix men who don't want to be fixed. Donnie's voice through the speaker. I mean, Grant's been divorced twice, Dolores. He's been through it, Donnie. He sees things. I stood in that hallway. Laundry basket in my hands. Heart doing something it hadn't done in years, not breaking. Deciding. That was the moment. Not dramatic. Not a man falling to his knees. Just a 51-year-old guy holding dirty towels, realizing his wife had outsourced their marriage to the HOA president. Saturday, I drove out to the job site. Nobody there. Sat on the tailgate of my truck, lunch break long since over, staring west. The sun was hitting the red rocks near Garden of the Gods, and everything was golden and still, and I couldn't feel any of it. I called my father. Milo Riggs. 76. Lives alone in Pueblo since Mom passed. Doesn't talk much, but when he does, it lands. She said treat me like a roommate, Dad. Long pause. I could hear his TV, some news segment about diplomatic talks with Venezuela. So be one, son. What? You heard me. She wants a roommate? Give her one. See how fast she misses a husband. Monday morning, I became a roommate. I stopped cooking for 4. Made my own plate. Washed my own dish. Stopped asking about her day. Stopped texting her from the job site. Those little midday messages I'd sent for 20 years. Thinking about you. Want me to grab anything? Gone. Tuesday. Picked up Scout and Frankie from school. Made them dinner. Helped with homework. When Dolores came home at 6:30, I said, kids are fed. Leftovers in the fridge if you want. And left for Murray's garage. Wednesday. She texted at lunch. Can you grab milk on the way home? I replied, not going to the store today. You can grab it. Thursday. She noticed. What's going on with you? Nothing. Just living my life. You're being weird, Malcolm. I'm being a roommate, Dolores. Isn't that what Grant recommended? Her face went white. Not angry white. Caught white. I don't know what you're talking about. Laundry room. Friday. Door was cracked. She opened her mouth. Closed it. You were eavesdropping? I was carrying towels. You weren't whispering. That was the first time she looked at me. Really looked at me. In weeks. And I could see her searching for which Malcolm this was. The funny one. The easygoing one. The one who always smoothed things over. This wasn't any of them. Friday. I left the envelope. The spreadsheet. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, her half. Saturday morning, she came downstairs holding the paper like it was a summons. You can't be serious. Roommates split expenses. I looked it up. Fair market rate for a room in this neighborhood is about $1,400. I'm giving you the family discount. This is our home, Malcolm. It's our house. Home is something different. And I haven't felt at home here since January. She started to cry. And here's what got me. It was real. Not performed. Not strategic. Real tears from a woman who genuinely could not understand how the man she'd been dismissing for months had become someone she couldn't read. But I'd watched her cry before and come back the next morning with the same cold shoulder. So I picked up my keys, kissed Scout on the forehead. She was examining a beetle at the kitchen table with her magnifying glass. Ruffled Frankie's hair, where he sat drawing a floor plan labeled Dream House, and drove to Murray's. Murray handed me a beer and didn't ask. That's what I loved about that garage. He just turned on the bandsaw and let me sand a piece of walnut for an hour. Sawdust on my face. Didn't realize my eyes were wet until he tossed me a shop rag without looking at me. You know what you're going to do? He asked, finally. Not yet. You will. You always do. Just takes you longer because you're busy making sure everyone else is comfortable first. That one sentence hit harder than anything Dolores had said all year. Sunday night. I came home late. Dolores had put the kids to bed. She was on the couch scrolling her phone. I walked past, said goodnight, went to bed. She came upstairs 20 minutes later. Stood in the doorway. Malcolm. Yeah. I'm sorry about the spreadsheet reaction. I was just surprised. Okay. Can we talk about it tomorrow? Sure. Tomorrow came. She didn't bring it up. I didn't either. The next week was the hardest stretch of my life. Monday. Dolores made breakfast for the whole family. Pancakes. The good kind, with blueberries. I ate mine. Thanked her the way you'd thank a co-worker who brought donuts, and went to work. Tuesday. She wore the green dress from our anniversary 3 years back. I said, that's a nice dress. Nothing more. Her smile cracked at the edges. Wednesday. She tried to touch my arm while I loaded the dishwasher. I didn't pull away. Just didn't respond. Kept loading plates. She stood there a moment, then walked upstairs. Thursday. She got cold. Dinner was silent. She put the kids to bed without saying goodnight to me. I sat on the couch reading a book about Colorado mining history. Didn't look up. Friday morning. She tried one more time. This one almost got me. She came downstairs early. Made coffee, my coffee, the way I take it, dark with 1 sugar. Set it on the counter next to me. Then she said, very quietly, I miss you. I know that sounds strange because you're right here. But I miss you. And I wanted to believe it. I wanted to put down my mug and hold her and say we'll figure this out. Because she sounded like the woman I married. The one who used to leave notes in my lunchbox. The one who slow danced with me in the kitchen when the kids were asleep. But then my phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Murray. Heard Grant was at your place again yesterday. Amy Henderson saw his car. I looked at Dolores. Was Grant here yesterday? Her face flickered. Just for a second. He stopped by to drop off a flyer for the block party. A flyer. Yes, Malcolm. A flyer. But there was no flyer on the counter. No flyer on the fridge. No flyer anywhere. That evening, Grant Boatwright knocked on my door. I opened it. Malcolm, I think we should talk. About what, Grant? Dolores is upset. She says you've been acting, Grant. I leaned against the doorframe. You told my wife to treat me like a roommate. I'm treating her like one. You should be thrilled. Your advice worked perfectly. His jaw tightened. That's not what Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk back to your house. You're going to stop having coffee in my kitchen. And you're going to find another marriage to manage. Because this one was never your business. He left without another word. Saturday morning. Dolores found out about the Hendersons. Amy Henderson, 3 houses down, told her at the mailbox. Grant had done the same thing to them 2 years ago. Befriended the wife. Coached her. Told her the husband wasn't pulling his weight, wasn't emotionally available, wasn't enough. The Hendersons nearly split before Amy realized Grant was projecting his own failures onto every couple on the street. A lonely man with opinions and a captive audience of women who thought he understood something their husbands didn't. Dolores came inside, sat at the kitchen table, didn't speak for a long time. I was helping Frankie color in a floor plan he'd drawn, a house with a room labeled Dad's office and another labeled Bug Room for Scout. I listened to him, she said finally, quiet, almost to herself. I let a man who can't keep his own marriage together tell me how to treat mine. I kept coloring with Frankie. Didn't look up. Malcolm, please say something. What would you like me to say? Something. Anything. Tell me I was stupid. Tell me you're angry. I'm not angry, Dolores. I'm tired. There's a difference. She looked at the spreadsheet still pinned to the fridge with a magnet. Her half of the mortgage. Her half of the electric bill. A marriage reduced to line items. You're not a roommate, she whispered. No, I'm not. But you asked me to be one. And I need you to understand why that was easier for you than being married to me. She didn't have an answer. I didn't expect one. The following week, I sat down with Archie Hale. Not because I wanted a divorce. Because I wanted to know where I stood. Archie's practiced family law in Colorado Springs for 30 years. Quiet guy. Doesn't oversell. You don't have to decide today, he said. But you should know what you're working with. He laid it out. The house, the business, the kids. Colorado's an equitable distribution state. Nothing would be simple. What about the kids? You've been the primary evening parent for years. Pick up, dinner, homework. That matters. Keep a record. I started keeping a record. Not out of strategy, out of self-preservation. Because Dolores had already shown me she could erase my nightstand overnight. I wasn't going to let her erase my place in my children's lives. And here's the part one wasn't ready for. The town noticed before she did. That's the thing about being the charmer. When you go quiet, people feel it like a change in weather. First, it was the guys at the lumber yard on Platt Avenue. Malcolm, you good? You didn't crack a single joke today. Then the woman at the coffee shop on Tejon Street. Haven't seen you and your wife in here. You two usually come in Saturdays. Then our neighbor across the street, who pulled Dolores aside at the mailbox and said, "Is everything okay with Malcolm?" He waved, but didn't stop to talk. That's not like him. The whole neighborhood was tracking my absence before Dolores had even registered it herself. You know what's strange? She never once asked where I was going. Not once. I'd leave after dinner and come back at 9, and she'd be on the couch scrolling her phone like I was a roommate who kept odd hours. Which, I suppose, was exactly what she'd asked for. But the town kept asking. My crew foreman, Bobby, pulled me aside at a job site on Academy Boulevard. "Boss, I don't know what's going on at home, but you haven't smiled in 2 weeks. The guys are worried." I told him I was fine. He didn't believe me. Nobody did. That's the curse of being the charmer. When the charm stops, everyone assumes something catastrophic happened. And they weren't wrong. Dolores started hearing it from every direction. The woman at Scout's school pickup. The guy at the hardware store on Fillmore. Even her own sister called, Donnie Upchurch, who'd warned her about Grant in the first place. "People are asking me if Malcolm is sick," Donnie told her. "I know because Dolores repeated it to me later. Donnie says the whole town thinks something's wrong with you." "Something is wrong with me," I said. "I'm a roommate in my own house." She came to me on a Tuesday night. Kids were asleep. I was at the kitchen table going over a bid for a bathroom remodel. "Malcolm." "Yeah." "I said something to you. Back in January. At the kitchen sink. You were fixing the faucet, and I said something I can't take back. Do you remember?" I remembered. She'd said it once. Just once. And once was enough. "You said I wasn't a real man. That I wasn't a leader." "I didn't mean, you meant it enough to say it. And you said it to the one person in this city who would never repeat it. Because I don't air our business, Dolores. I never have. That's not charm. That's respect." She sat down across from me. No makeup. Sweatshirt. Hair pulled back. She looked like the woman I married, and that made everything harder. "Grant told me that a strong woman challenges her husband. That if you were really a leader, you'd respond to it. Grant's been divorced twice. I know. He did the same thing to the Hendersons. And probably the Millers before that. I know. Amy told me everything. And you still listen to him. Over 23 years with me." She didn't answer. I waited. The fridge hummed. Somewhere upstairs, Frankie coughed in his sleep. "I stopped seeing you," she said. "Not because you weren't there. Because you made everything look so easy. The jokes. The way everyone lights up when you walk in. I started thinking, if it's all that easy for him, then I must not matter much. Because you never struggled. You never fought for us. You just smiled. That landed. Because she wasn't wrong. Not entirely. I smiled because the alternative scared me. I said. I smiled because if I stopped, I'd have to admit that the woman I loved was slipping away and I didn't know how to reach her. Quiet. The kind you feel in your chest. Then Scout walked in. 7 years old. Magnifying glass in one hand, a jar with a firefly in the other. Daddy, are you and Mommy having a meeting? Yeah, Bug. We're having a meeting. Can I be in the meeting? Not this one, sweetheart. She looked at Dolores. Then at me. Then she said, Frankie drew a new house today. It has 2 front doors. He said it's so you and Mommy can both come home at the same time. She walked back upstairs with her firefly, and the kitchen went so quiet I could hear the jar buzzing against her small hands. That was March. The spreadsheet came off the fridge. Not because everything was forgiven, because we agreed to start with the actual problem instead of the symptoms. I didn't go back to being the old Malcolm. That guy had let too much slide because smiling was easier than standing still. I stopped trying to charm my way through things that needed honesty. Dolores quit taking counsel from people who hadn't earned the right to give it. She told Grant, to his face, at the next HOA meeting, that if he had advice about marriages, he should try keeping one first. The whole room went quiet. I heard about it from 3 different neighbors before she even got home. The nightstand is back on my side of the bed. She's the one who moved it. Some nights I still drive out to that job site. Sit on the tailgate. Watch the mountains go red. Not because I'm hurting, because that's where I found the version of myself that doesn't disappear just to keep the room comfortable. She wanted a roommate. I gave her one. Turns out the rent was higher than she thought. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.